And today's episode, we're going to be talking all about self-worth, just how to go about life, whether it's friends, relationships, family, everything you need to know when it comes to self-worth so that you have better confidence and you can have lasting relationships that actually serve you. But before we get into today's episode, I want to give you my updates of this week. First off is I had my intern presentations. I thought I totally choked because I did so much better when we just practiced at my office, the office branch I work at. I guess I didn't because I actually got the highest score out of all the interns. Unfortunately, since I'm not in college, I'm not qualified for the scholarship, so I didn't get the prize money, but I was still recognized, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting a plaque and some type of jacket I get to pick out, so at least I get something. And it was very nerve-wracking because I was presenting in front of the president of the company, a couple of the VPs, superintendents, managers, just a lot of leadership within the company. I hope that I put my best self out there and showed that I am someone they need at this company and that they want, who will represent them well. So to me, it was more than just winning a prize or winning first place because I am competitive. It was more of my reputation on the line and showing my character and my values. And I hope that they did see that through my presentation. And then secondly, I went over, it was Max's birthday, so I went over to his parents. They had a little birthday party for him, even though he's in Peoria. And we watched his game. He did so well. So that was pretty great. Loved hanging out with them. And then my friend Caitlin visited me for the weekend. So it was a pretty relaxed weekend. I felt very burnt out, so I tried to keep it very chill with her. We went to some workout classes, we hung around the house, went to the beach, all the good things. Moving right along, I want to give you my obsession of this week is going in the ocean. My obsession of the week was Run Club last week. After the Run Club, we go into the ocean. Every single time I just force myself to go in, I realize it's not cold. And every single morning I wake up and my skin looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I need to do it more. It's not magnesium. My skin obviously likes it too. Something I want to do more of is read. I haven't really been reading. I have a goal for myself to read 36 books by the end of the year. And as of right now, so that's 3 books a month. As of right now, I need to read 4 books a month, so 1 a week to meet that goal. I've been slacking. I think it's because I'm doing a lot of TV. I've been watching The Summer I Turned Pretty, rewatching Suits, and then I was watching All American Homecoming. All really great shows, but I know I need to not get into another show because I just need to read. I started a new book at work today. I don't want to make this a segment, but I want to keep you guys updated on every book that I read, just maybe I'll hold myself accountable. So the book I started today because I just finished Find Your People. Let's see what it's called. It's called Lucky. I don't remember who recommended it, probably Max's mom, but so far I'm into chapter 6 and I'm liking it. I'm really going to be on my reading game. I usually read or I listen to audiobooks at work when I listen to all the podcasts of the week. Today there wasn't many podcasts to listen to, so I was listening to that book. I really like it so far. I have 3 books I'm reading on my Kindle. So I'm in a little bit of a lot of books, but I just have to finish them because the self-help books usually take me a really long time to read or listen to because I want to absorb everything. I don't want to read it too fast, or sometimes I just don't want to read that at night. I do want to say what inspired this episode. One, I would say, not only am I saying this for other people to learn and build self-confidence and self-awareness and really just dig deep within themselves, but I'm also repeating this all for myself. So I'm not saying this out of I know so much and I have so much wisdom. I need to listen to this episode myself. So everything I am saying, I also want myself to believe it however, let's move forward because there's a lot of things I want to go over. Let's chat about self-worth because it's pretty important. Why is self-worth such a big deal? It's a lot more important than you realize. First off, you're going to have better relationships. When you have self-worth, you're going to attract people who understand you, who value, who choose you. My favorite quote that my friend Allison told me freshman year was, choose people who choose you. And I added on to that, choose people who choose you and better you. It's not the time anymore. We don't want energy suckers in our life anymore. Imagine yourself waking up every single morning and looking in the mirror and saying, I've got this. You're beautiful. You're worth so much. whatever your affirmation is. You should be your best friend every single day, and it should be easier for you to go about your day, not harder. Let's make it extremely simple. Do you ever remember a time where a friend wanted you to hang out and you really, really didn't want to, but you said yes anyways? All you wanted to say was no. Having self-worth will help you draw that line and stick to it. Every time I would get pestered to go to a party or go out or get shamed because I didn't go out, and then I did go out when I didn't want to, I never had a good time, or I always had FOMO, or I always wish I stayed home. So I think if you really want to do something, go do it. But if you don't, just stay home because you're not going to be that fun, or it's not going to be all that great. You're not really missing out on all that much. Maybe, yeah, 1 of the 10 times it was better than you thought it would be. But for me personally, that happens less, and I would probably way better stay at home. Giving you a little bit more examples about what self-worth is. When you're hanging out with someone or a group of people, I'm going to be honest, I'm a product of this probably. I've probably done this. I think we maybe all have. But you're in a group of people and someone is making not shady comments, but when someone is being passive aggressive. Let's say in that scenario, someone is being extremely passive aggressive towards you or indirectly towards you. Maybe it's a comment in your DMs, or all those comments, all those words don't mean anything to you. They're not harmful. Or maybe you made a mistake, and we all make mistakes. But your self-worth knows that that's okay. We all make mistakes. You're not going to be down for long, and you're going to come back even better. So basically what I'm trying to say is all these scenarios are all epitomes of what self-worth is. Self-worth overall will boost your happiness. And we're going to talk a ton about self-worth, but I wanted to give you a background on what it is, tangible examples, so that you can understand moving forward. Because I think when people say self-love, self-worth, or self-confidence, it's hard to actually grasp what that means in a scenario because everyone just throws it around and it has no value. It does have value, but it just seems really hard to attain for myself. I want to start off with talking about authenticity in relationships, just self-worth in any type of relationship, whether it's romantic, friendships, family. You are who you attract. If you know you have a ton of self-worth, that you are confident, that you know you deserve good things, if you don't think you deserve good friends, you're going to attract bad friends. So knowing your value makes you a lot less likely to settle for relationships that don't align with what you believe you think you deserve. That's why a lot of people say you shouldn't date someone until you're fully in love with yourself. And a part of me agrees with that because you will maybe settle for less than you think you deserve. We only receive the love we think we deserve. I think Max and I are the perfect example of this because I did not love myself when we started dating. I remember telling people that I loved him more than I loved myself, and that should not be the case. He gave me the room to grow in our relationship, and I did grow. I have come a long way from my 17-year-old self, and I do love myself a lot more than I did then. I think I needed him in this process because I needed someone secure. I needed that foundation. I needed stability, and I needed his comfort along the way. Say after 3 years later, I go through this whole self-love journey, and then all of a sudden I realize that I settled in a relationship because I was just sad at the time. Then I would have to face myself and be like, okay, you need to dump the dude. But obviously that's not the circumstances. I think people say that you shouldn't fall in love before you love yourself because there is that possibility. So I guess just move with caution. And if people tell you this guy's not good or this friend isn't good for you, maybe trust them, because sometimes we have blinders on and we don't realize what we are truly valued at the moment. When you set the standard for how you treat yourself, you're also setting that standard for how other people treat you. I had a friend whose parents were treating her very, very poorly, and she said to them, I wouldn't even let my friends treat me like this, so why are you treating me like this? And that instantly made her parents realize that they were treating their daughter incorrectly. That is not how you treat your child, because if they were her friend, immediately they would not be her friend. So they had to reevaluate how they were speaking to her, how they were going about situations. And I think we have to do that with everyone in our life, because people will follow in the footsteps that we treat ourselves. This is a tad off topic and more in the relation to dating, and I've only been in one serious relationship, or I had a lot of things or talking phases with guys in high school, but I never dated anyone. I pretty much met Max and was like, that's it. What frustrates me a lot is when I see people play mind games or just these rules when it comes to dating. And maybe I just don't understand because I'm not in the dating field, and I never really was, because when I was dating, I was in high school, and maybe it'd be different if I was dating now, but I don't believe in playing games when it comes to relationships. I think it will damage the foundation of any trust in a relationship. For example, when you're texting a guy and he doesn't respond to you, and then maybe he responds an hour, you're like, okay, I'm going to respond 2 hours later. That just is so dumb to me. I don't know, like, respond right away or respond once you see it. Don't intentionally wait around. One, that's just a waste of your time and energy. But two, maybe that's when he saw the text. I don't get it. I don't get the mind games. Also, or whatever other games people play when it comes to dating around and all those sorts of things. Like, maybe it's fun if you're not looking for a relationship. I guess I can't talk too much on this, but to me, I don't think it's worth it. I think it shows that you're not ready to be in a relationship, or maybe you're going to hurt the other person's feelings. It leads to misunderstandings and miscommunication, and will just ruin the bond that you guys have before anything gets good. It can also just lower the other person's self-esteem. I think you're just holding yourself off to building genuine connections, whether that's with a friend or with a romantic partner. And what's the point, honestly? What are you getting out of that? Put your full self out there. This is what one of my friends said to me. If you put your full self out there and this person doesn't like you, at least you know that. Versus you put half of yourself out there and they didn't even really get to know the real part of you. And maybe they would have wanted to actually know the real part of you. Maybe that's what they were looking for, but you were only putting on this face of whatever you think they might like. Put on what you want them to know, who you are as a person. Since we kind of went into games, let's talk about building just honest communication. I'm a completely blunt person sometimes, and I think that's helped my relationship with Max or some of my friendships too, because I'm going to say it how it is. I'm not going to fluff it around, not going to put emojis around it. I'm just going to say whatever I feel. And what I text is what I say out loud. And I think people think my texts are super dry, but I'm just getting the point across. I'm not going to write you a whole essay of what I would, besides the point. Maybe with a friend, you kind of ease into this because you don't want to scare them, be like, I need this, this, and this from you. You just hang out and see how it goes, you know? You don't have to guess about what someone wants or what their text means or how long they're going to respond. I guess this kind of goes in with the playing games. But you say what's on your mind. I think easy enough as that. I think so many of us would stop overthinking. I know, okay, with Max, for instance, I really have been missing him. And this week has been hard, but I just been missing him a lot. So I told him, can you do something for me this week that makes me know that you love me, and that just do something for me that reminds me of you? I tell him what I need from him. I'm not going to be passive aggressive or leave hints. I'm just going to tell him straight up. Or with my friends, if they're being MIA, I'm like, hey, what's up? What's going on in your life? We need to hang out. I haven't heard from you. I'm not gonna, play games, I guess. Another thing about just communications in relationships is active listening. And as a comms major, I think I really learned about this a lot. Even if you're with a friend, they're pouring their heart out to you, listen, take in accordance of where you are. Understand and show how you feel without giving them a plan, or I'm a fixer-upper, so I try not to be like, do this, this, this. This will make you feel better. Just listen. For myself, I really steer away from vulnerable conversations. It honestly terrifies me. When you do have open communication with your friends, it provides you a safe space to express yourself. I've realized that even if I'm not intentionally trying to withhold something, it's hard to share. And I realize that if I don't share, the other person isn't going to share. And you can only build so much of a friendship on surface level things. But not all your friends obviously have to be super deep. But it goes into the more you keep things inside, you're turning into a pressure cooker. and having open communication. And if you don't, you're going to explode, and that's not going to be good for anyone. So I highly recommend trickle in some conversation starters about how you're feeling, what's going on, and if they can't handle it, you reel it in. But if they can, maybe you slowly open yourself up a little bit more. Obviously, we can stop talking about communication because we're talking about self-worth here, even though it's all interconnected. But we're going to go into what it's like embracing your true self. This really impacts you. Imagine that when you're making a new friend or you're going on a date with someone, you're not only are you being completely honest, but you're showing your best self and your true self out there. You're setting yourself up for success. You don't have to be apologetic about who you are. People are going to be drawn to you for who you are, and that's what we want. We want someone to be your friend or to date you because of who you are, not because of who they think you are. When it comes to self-worth, you really have to evaluate your friendships post your self-love journey. And I mentioned this if I was dating a bad guy and I didn't realize till a couple years later, this is what I'd have to do. But I've also done this so much with friends. Think of it as you're doing a mental spring cleaning, but for your relationships in your life. It's time to go through all the connections you have and really evaluate who's enriching your life. Does this relationship spark joy, or is it time to maybe part ways? I grew up not understanding conflict and maintaining friendships. As I've gotten older, I've realized that there are value in friendships and relationships, and you shouldn't cut everyone off. You shouldn't have a burnt bridge for every person that you've met. And it takes a lot of work to go through conflict, figure out why you guys don't mesh. Can you maintain this friendship? It doesn't have to be your best friend. It could just be someone you get coffee with every once in a while. So I don't want you to take this as I'm telling you to just cut everybody off in your life who doesn't bring you joy or doesn't add value. I say this all the time, but you are the average of the people you spend the most time with. Ask yourself these questions. How do the people around you contribute to your personal growth? Are they cheering you on, challenging you to be better, or holding you back? I had a friend, I was really dabbling on whether or not I should stay friends with her. And I was talking to another one of my friends about it, and she was asking me these questions. She was asking, this person doesn't need to be your super deep conversation person, but what do you like to do with her? I can name 10 things I love to do with you, Shelby. Obviously, things that I don't like about you. She didn't say that. So when I reevaluated this friendship, honestly, pros of staying friends with this person didn't really outweigh the cons. There wasn't necessarily cons, but I don't know. It didn't seem worth it to me. She asked me those questions, and that's how I came, I guess, the peace within myself of knowing that this wasn't a friendship this was a temporary friendship. And it's okay to have temporary friendships. We're going to make so many friendships in our lives and have so many relationships and connections. Not every friend you need to keep for the rest of your life. But those questions really helped me let go of this person and honestly not think about it. Obviously, once in a while I will, but I don't dwell on all the moments because I had a good time while it lasted. It's kind of like a relationship. You dated for 4 months and then you broke up and you had a great 4 months. Wouldn't take it back, you know? Questions I ask myself is, who is happy for me when I accomplish something? Who looks genuinely upset? Because I've had friends like that. And why do you want to surround yourself with people who aren't happy for you and excited just as much as you are? Who is helping you in a time of crisis? Who is there around you to support you? And who only wants to be there when you're doing good things? You're building a home. You're going to build a home on very solid, sturdy ground. Maybe it's because I'm in construction right now, so that's why I like this. Your friendships and relationships are like houses. We share the same values, and our values are our foundation. But if you're befriending people or relationships that don't have the same values as you, you're not going to create it on a solid foundation. Me and Brooke have nothing in common anymore as we've grown up, but we share the same values in our friendship. And that's what keeps us together and the memories. And I love her. Okay, like for Max, I started dating him and we have very similar values. If I started dating him for something materialistic or the way he looks, and then 10 years down the road, we never had those values to hold our relationship up. So look for maybe not necessarily what you have in common with someone or what they materialistic or what they look like, but look for what they believe in and what they stand for, because that will support the friendship you have or the boyfriend that you have. If you're going to journal, or if you're just thinking about people in your life, maybe ask yourself some of these questions. Do they encourage what you believe in, or do they tell you that's unattainable? Some of these questions will help you navigate through your relationships, and they'll help you understand who's adding value and who you might need a little reconsideration. There are toxic people everywhere, toxic friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, and we've all had them. We've all had our fair share. Maybe you've been one of them. But when that actually starts affecting your happiness, it's ready to pause and take a break and reevaluate. Why do you think that's okay? Why haven't you stood up for yourself? When you declutter and really emphasize the friends that are bringing you value, or only letting guys have your attention who add value to your life, I promise you, you're going to take a breath of fresh air, and you're going to have so much more time for other things that fulfill you. Because when you let go of what's not serving you, you're creating space for growth. That is the biggest thing I've realized since only putting energy into the friendships that I see so much love and care and values and everything you could imagine in. There's just so much more time for them. Those relationships are so valuable to me. If I gave my energy to every guy who gave me attention, I would never have met Max, because I would always have put value in the guys that probably would treat me not good. And so I'm so happy that I gave all my attention. You're making room for the good stuff in your life. The relationships that make you feel valued, loved, and heard. And you're loosening your grip on those unhealthy connections that can honestly open the door to so many new possibilities when you stop giving attention to that guy who picks fights with you, doesn't trust you, is always angry at you. You're opening the doors up to the variety of guys who would bow down to you, treat you, just settling for a guy who is comfortable because you already know him, you already know his red flags or his temper or whatever is wrong with this dude. Don't do it, because you're going to learn so much more about yourself dating someone else. You're going to be treated so much better. Yeah, I think your brain will just rationalize every reason why you need to stay with this guy. And I'm just giving a scenario, for example. It's not worth it. I promise you, it is not worth it. And I know everyone will tell you this too. Maybe start going on dates with other people and getting a taste of what it feels like to be treated and trusted and loved and cared for, and not the toxicity that comes with a bad relationship. Maybe you're just really afraid of losing people in your life. Maybe you're really emphasized on having a lot of friends or a lot of followers on Instagram. Everyone says it, quality over quantity. And I 100% believe that, because when you're around the people who energize you and uplift you and just remind you that you're going down the right path and you're surrounding yourself with the people who you want to be and become, it's so much more rewarding. If you're hanging out with a ton of people, or you're dating a crappy dude who just treats you like absolute garbage, you're just going to keep settling for that over and over, repeating that cycle. Or just still surrounding yourself with friends who financially not on the spot you want to be, romantically not in the relationships you would be in. You guys are on just different wavelengths, and you don't want to stoop down to someone else's level who you don't want to be. I also want to emphasize that ending relationships do not have to involve drama, don't need to be messy. Whether you've outgrown a friend or a partner that you realized is not your forever person, you can move on gracefully with gratitude for all the lessons that they've given you, the happy memories, the laughs, and move on with a sense of peace. I think that's what I've really tried to do for myself, because I've burned a lot of bridges in my past because I didn't know how to just have hard conversations. I didn't know how to deal with conflict, so I just cut people off. A part of me has accepted that, given myself peace with that. But then another part of myself is learning how to maintain relationships, make them better, go through the hard challenges, be vulnerable. But you still have to be nice to yourself for handling any situation the best way that you knew at the time. Because maybe I'd go back and change some things. I can still look back and be so grateful for everything that they have taught me, all the lessons, how I'm going to move forward in my next relationships, you start to see the self-worth in yourself and put up those boundaries for your next relationships, you're actually going to start affecting the people around you as well. Positive changes in your connections will just create this ripple effect for growth and positivity within the entire people you surround yourself with. I think this is why I don't push any self-growth on Max or some of my friends, because I know me doing it to myself, they will slowly eventually want to incorporate little tips, and I'm so excited to see it. Like, Max does so many wellness things, it's actually insane. Granted, he's an athlete and he needs to do them, but he could totally be anti and be like, that's for girls. So I really want to have him on the podcast to give his entire wellness routine and just kind of interview him as an athlete to just show that guys can do it too. I love it for him. Next segment here is we're going to talk about boundaries and how this affects your self-worth. My finances every month, and I allocate every single expense I make every single day for the entire month. I wouldn't spend my entire paycheck on one singular item. Granted, I have rent, I have utilities, I have a dog. The same goes for your energy. How you distribute your energy wisely across your relationships is very important, because you don't want to go bankrupt with your energy. Think of it, your energy as money. You don't want to go bankrupt because you're spending all your energy on one person or one thing. You're going to slowly distribute it between every single person, and hopefully they're recharging you in the process. Boundaries are essential for your well-being. It's not about building walls. It's about creating a safe space where you can thrive. Nobody, what they say or do is going to hurt you because you created that boundary. Also, setting boundaries is not just about you. It's also about teaching other people how to treat you. Having clear boundaries sends a message that you have self-respect, and it also helps other people understand what's okay and what's not okay. I had so many therapy sessions about setting boundaries, and she was like, Shelby, you have boundaries. You just let people walk all over them, and you don't actually stay firm. You need yourself to not only create those boundaries, but you need to keep them. Because if you don't keep them, people are not going to trust you. As I talk about maintaining your relationships, but maybe this person is like a once a month type of friend, and you're wondering to yourself, first of all, is you have to find a balance. I've learned that not everybody needs to be my best friend. I don't need to hang out with someone every single day. I can get coffee with that person once a month and they can still be my friend. I don't need to completely cut them out of my life. But also, like I said, you need to know how to say no to people. It doesn't mean you're rude because you always say no. It just means that you're respecting how you feel, what you have planned, what you want. You're respecting your boundary of listening to yourself, and they need to respect that when you say no. Obviously, in the past, I have just done it anyways and not respected my boundary because they weren't respecting it either, and I just basically enabled them pestering me. Not only is setting good relationships a ripple effect, but so is setting boundaries for yourself. It's not just benefiting you because it encourages everyone around you to do the exact same things. So how do you set boundaries? I sometimes get pretty guilty when I set boundaries. You need to stand firm behind your decisions, knowing that you're doing what's best for you, even in the moment that person is making you feel bad. You have to honor yourself. At the end of the day, setting boundaries is a way of self-care. It's telling the whole world that you have self-respect is not an excuse to isolate yourself. It doesn't mean you're isolating yourself. Boundaries enhance your relationships by fostering mutual understanding and respect. You're not letting people disrespect you. You're not letting people do things or say things that you wouldn't say or do to other people or yourself. So one of my boundaries was I'm not going to respond to someone immediately, especially when I have a lot of anxiety about my phone and text messages. If I only did that one time, that's not a boundary. My boundary is all the time, and that could be with the specific person, obviously, but it's a learning process. Sometimes you'll need to readjust your boundaries, and that's perfectly okay. One of my boundaries was if I don't want to do something or I don't want to go somewhere, I'm not going to do it because I know if I go, I'm going to be crabby. I'm not going to be nice. I'll be passive aggressive. I don't want someone to persuade me to do something. I just want to do it if I want to do it. Overall, I want to say that boundaries is you're creating a healthier space and dynamic within all your relationships. You don't let people treat you how you don't think you should be treated. people will start to see that, and then they'll start to do it for themselves. Life will start to get a little bit easier. Yourself with people who genuinely value and respect you and make you happy. It's not just about having so many friends. It's about having one friend who actually understands. It's better to have one friend who truly loves and understands you and wants to be there for you in the good times and the bad times than 10 friends who know nothing about you, don't actually care what you're doing day to day, and don't check up on you. It's so essential to be intentional about who you invite into your life. It is a privilege that other people receive your time, your energy, just get to be within your life, or reframe your situations to thinking this person is entering your time, your energy, and don't let them waste it. Knowing your friend or your boyfriend has your back is probably, I think, one of the most secure and comforting feelings. Trust and maximized relationship is the foundation. It's also just a gut feeling of all this, I would say. First off, not all relationships are as perfect as they seem. As much as I talk about how great maximized relationship is, it's not perfect, and what we see on social media is not what actually goes on behind the scenes, even if you're seeing a video of them on YouTube. There is always going to be an imbalance. Sometimes I'm at 80% and Max is at 20% and I just have to fill in for the other. It's not always 50-50. Sometimes you have to also evaluate your relationships based on emotional investment. It's not also just always finding new people because the people in your past were never able to fulfill you, but it's also nurturing the friendships you do have, not just letting go because they're not good enough. You can always make them better. And you can't just take from all your relationships. You can't just sometimes Max isn't there for me and I need to do it for him. In a relationship, you're both growing together. You're both creating this personal and emotional relationship and growth within each other. And you're sharing this journey. Even if maybe I'm growing more right now and Max will grow a little bit later, or vice versa, we're still growing as people together. We're still aging and maturing and going through these life lessons together. I know affects self-worth. You're shifting your mindset from the scarcity of endless possibilities, because there are so many possibilities, so many people out there, and you have to genuinely believe that there is so much richness and opportunity for connection. The myth of there's only one soulmate out there for me, or only one best friend, that comes from societal pressures or past experiences, or maybe your parents. That mindset is hindering you from actually seeking out connections that genuinely will provide growth in your future. Recognizing your worth creates space for connections that actually embrace this perspective that opens doors to so many possibilities. There are so many good things for you out there. The more I believed in myself, the more I said lucky girl affirmations, the more I actually started to see the little things every day that was happening for me, not to me. Recognizing your worth is about setting standards that mirror your self-value. It's not about entitlement, but it's about aligning with people who actually appreciate and respect you for who you are, not who they want you to be. You're going to have to start transitioning from the fear of scarcity to embracing abundance. You're going to recognize your self-worth, that it liberates you from the mindset of settling for less than what actually you deserve. Your choices and the people you surround yourself with reflect everything. Your connections reflect your choices. Valuing yourself empowers you to choose relationships that are good for you. You have to do this every single day. When you're valuing your self-worth, you're challenging the limitations that you have set for yourself. You're stepping forward to all the opportunities that are out for you. You're starting to believe that you cannot accept less than what you truly think you deserve. Because when you start this self-worth journey, you're going to remember that you are the coolest, awesomest person out there. Nobody else can be you. If someone's trying to copy you, they will always be a second-rate version of you. They can never actually be you, so they will always be one step behind. Something that you can do to help your self-worth is recognize your personal victories and actually celebrate it. You need to celebrate the little things in life. Birthdays, holidays, when you get a promotion, when you finish a good project, when you completed a habit. You're reminding yourself that when you accomplish something that's worth celebrating, it brings positivity, and you're valuing yourself in this moment. You're recognizing that this is awesome, you did amazing, and you deserve to be celebrated. The journey of recognizing your worth is ongoing. It's never going to end. It leads to growth, self-discovery, and a deeper understanding of what you deserve in relationships. I haven't figured it out. I don't think anyone I know who's older than me has figured it out. But it's an everyday choice that we make. It's in every situation that we make to value ourselves, respect our boundaries. And sometimes we'll mess up. Sometimes we'll do things we didn't want to do, got into an unhealthy relationship, stayed in a friendship that was too long. But you have to give yourself some grace in that, because we will make mistakes. It's not a linear path. I want to talk about self-perception and acceptance to end this off. We often attract and accept what we believe we deserve. Our relationships often mirror how we perceive ourselves. Our inner voice often shapes the connections we create externally. So when I talk to myself really poorly in the mirror, I'm going to accept other people talking poorly about me, or I'm going to then poorly judge other people because I do the same thing to myself. We have to, I'm saying we because I need to do this too, we have to break that pattern and recognize the reoccurring relationship and dynamics and make that conscious effort to change. We have to explore how our beliefs act as filters affecting the relationships we allow in our lives. The work you do on self-perception will outwardly show. Other people will notice. It will affect the quality of your connections overall. Building a positive self-image isn't about perfection, but acknowledging your strengths, embracing your flaws, and recognizing your unique value. I struggle so much with self-image, and I haven't figured this one out yet. One day, hopefully I will. One day, I hope that I can truly embrace everything that I need to have self-confidence and set the tone for respect and have healthy interactions, because the way I treat myself is the way that I'll let other people treat me, the way I will treat other people. And taming that inner critic with self-compassion and self-love will ultimately lead me to having a better self-image and having a better quality of relationships in my life. So we have to balance our self-improvement, but also with our self-acceptance, because if we're constantly trying to be better, I'm constantly just always trying to be on the self-development journey, and sometimes I'm just tired, and I just critique myself for everything I've done wrong, but I have to then be gracious to myself at the same time. I've learned that I have to aspire to grow and be a better person, but also embrace who I am at this moment, that I am okay at this moment, that I still love myself in this exact body and mind and person I am today. Recognizing my worth and cultivating a positive self-image, I'm setting the standard for the treatment of who can be into my life. Embrace vulnerability, because it will foster deeper connections and mutual understanding. I have learned that from opening up to friends and realizing that they will also open up to me, and we will have a better friendship because we just understand each other more. Self-perception and self-acceptance are journeys, not destinations. I was so glad you guys could listen to today's episode. Follow My Perspective podcast on Instagram and Shelby on TikTok. And I hope you liked today's episode, and I hope you guys